We got the space all cleaned up, ready to go. I got sheets of drywall here. This is more than just for this one room, but I got these here. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with this wall. I already measured 89.5. Then I got the mark for the receptacle. So I did stretch out my tape, come down here, and you'll see my pencil marks at, there's 89.5 here and one up here. And I was gonna score my line and cut it. All right, you can see we got it scored. Just use razor knife, score the line. Now as we do, pull it out, and it'll snap right where we did that. Then you take your knife again and just score the inside of the paper to cut it off. Basically just score it top, bottom. That piece comes off. Now it's cut. That's all it is to it. And since I can't see it very well, there's a light switch somewhere in here. So you can't really see it in there. So basically what I do is I went through here and then put it so my finger was even right over it, and then drew a little circle. So what I'm gonna do now is actually just cut out this little spot so I can see where the receptacle is, and then I'll actually notch it out bigger. And to notch this out, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually end up using this to actually cut it out, but I'm gonna pull away from the wall to do that so that way I'm not poking into the receptacle. Okay, you can see I was a touch off with my finger, but the light switch itself is right there. So I put a little mark here so you can see where it's at. So now all I'm gonna do is, since I know that location, I'm gonna get another box of the same size, line it up, and then trace it on. And that's all it is, and cut it out. Here's what she looks like before we cut it out. I'm gonna pull it away from the wall and cut it out and see how she fits. All right, I did cut the 3 sides. I just used the utility knife and scored across the top. So now I can grab this, pull it through, and you can see it snap clean. Now I'll just score that off and we'll test fit it. All right, you can see I'm just a touch off. So once I loosen up the receptacle, it'll fit in the bottom. But I need to take a little bit more off the top and just a touch more off this side. But it's really close. All right, got the hole trimmed up. Now we'll test fit it. And actually that will go nice and snug around it. And what I gotta do is go turn off power because I want to pull this receptacle out because the little tabs are getting hung up on the drywall. But that'll be the next step. I'm gonna turn that off. Now I don't need to unwire this whole thing. All I do is I loosen up these 2 screws. So now all I'm gonna do is basically pull it straight out from the box and just angle it like that. And that'll give me plenty to be able to fit the drywall around it. So let's see if we can do this with one hand. Let me put this down. I gotta move the sheet. All right, got the sheet in. So now I can literally just take my switch, pull her back out, and then put the screws back in. I just can't put the screws in with one hand. Okay, got the 2 screws back in. You can see the box is pretty well even with the edge. I mean, it could have been out just 1/8 of an inch more, but it's pretty close. So now I'm gonna go turn power back on, and I can go ahead and start getting some screws in here to hold the drywall steady. All right, power's back on. You can see that's working now. So now we just gotta do some screws. Something I forgot to do that I usually do when I'm doing drywall is I'll mark where the studs are at on the floor. I got one piece of tape here, but I got over ambitious putting this up and I forgot to mark. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna back up and we're gonna go around and mark the floor where all the spots are gonna go. Thankfully, since this is a drop ceiling, I can kind of look above and see where my studs are actually coming down through. So I got them marked at the top now instead of usually at the bottom how I usually do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some screws in here to hold this steady. If you're gonna be doing any kind of amount of drywall work, you need to go out and get yourself some of these. It's actually a little dimpler. Essentially what it is, it's just a Phillips screwdriver. So it only goes in so far. So that way you won't put your screws through the drywall. They'll stop there and leave a little dent so you can just mud right over them. Let me get some in here and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I'll show you what I mean here. So I got the screw already just started in the drywall. And you just want to hold this down. You can see even with all the pressure put on it, it didn't push it through, and it left a nice little spot there, so I can literally just drywall mud right over it, make it nice and smooth and invisible. All right, so now we just got to do the rest of the wall. All right, it's late in the day, but you can see this sheet is now up. So I did learn my mistake, and I forgot to mark all my studs, so I am going to do that before I start anymore. But as far as for today, I'm finishing this up because it's getting late in the day, and I'm going to pick it back up in the morning. I had a little epiphany before I do any more of this drywall work. I was looking out here, and where I had this all insulated and blocked off, it's nice and bright out there. Eventually this will probably get changed out with some glass in the door, which will brighten it in here. But I just realized I knocked out the one piece of insulation in the workshop, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of light coming through. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is the same thing. I think I might put a little window in here before I do any drywall work. So I'm going to explore that and look at that quick. All right, I have decided I am going to end up putting a window here. Remember, this is where they used to have the door that was connected up wrong. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this out and do a similar style window to what I did to these over here. It's not going to open or anything. It'll just be a fixed window here. But now we got to work on that. And this is the window I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this stuff cleaned off, get it nice and flattened again. So that way I don't have that edge. So that was in a previous video. If you want to see that, go back and watch that one. But I'll be back soon as I get done with this. All right, didn't show it, but you can see I got the spot in here. What I did was I actually just cut off this stud because I already had the top one in up here, so I didn't have to worry about that one. So I just literally cut this bottom one, and this is actually the right width that I need. So all I had to do was put this one board in. So I got it screwed there and on each end. So now I have a place to set it. Just to update, I got the window here. I got the bracing on the back side. I got the clamp in holding it. And we're just going to go ahead and level this and get this set. You can see I got this all in now. All framed in. It's stuff is in the backside, the adhesive to dry. And you can see now there's actually like a little fenced in room. And this is from the workshop side. So you can see there's actually a little window here where the door used to be. So, and then I got to put the insulation back in, but this makes it so I can just reach around for right now. But the adhesive's all in. I'm just going to let that set up and dry. And I got my trusty clamp holding everything tight. But other than that, you can see there is shims underneath. The other one's covered by the glue just to make everything level. But that's all for now. I'm going to wait for this to set up before I do any more. I don't want pressure moving this around.